Viktor Frankl did not need to read political philosophy to understand the danger of collectivism. He had lived inside it. He had been reduced to a number, prisoner 119,104, by a system that had decided that the only thing about him that mattered was his category. Jewish, male, prisoner. The individual had been dissolved into the mass, and the results were catastrophic. This experience gave him a philosophical position that was not abstract but viscerally personal, the conviction that any ideology, system, or worldview that subordinates the individual person to a collective, whether that collective is a race, a class, a state, or an idea, has committed a fundamental error about the nature of human reality. Frankl's anthropology begins with the irreducible uniqueness of the individual. Every human being, he argued, is unlike every other human being in the most profound sense. Their meaning is theirs alone, their conscience speaks to them alone, their responsibility is theirs alone to discharge. These things cannot be collectivized. You cannot fulfill someone else's meaning on their behalf. You cannot be responsible for someone else in the sense of standing in for them. Each person occupies a unique position in the fabric of existence that no one else can occupy. This has a direct political implication. Any system that claims the authority to define meaning for people, to tell them what their lives are for, to assign them roles in a collective project that overrides their individual judgment and conscience, is claiming a power that it does not legitimately possess. Not because authority is always wrong, but because meaning cannot be decreed. It can only be discovered. And the discovery can only be made by the person whose life it is. Frankl was careful to distinguish this from a crude individualism that treats the isolated self as the measure of all things. His understanding of meaning was always relational and self-transcendent. The most authentic meanings typically involve love, work, and commitment, all of which connect us to something beyond ourselves. The individual who turns inward and refuses all responsibility to others is not living more authentically. They are living less authentically, because they are refusing the dimension of their existence that is most essentially human. But there is a crucial difference between freely chosen relationship and relationship imposed by collective ideology. The person who chooses to give themselves to a family, a community, a cause, or a tradition has made an act of self-transcendence. The person who is assigned a collective identity and told that the collective's claims supersede their individual conscience has been robbed of the very capacity that makes such self-transcendence meaningful. Frankl also observed what happens psychologically when people surrender their individuality to a mass. He called it the herd instinct, the powerful pull toward conformity, toward merging with a group, toward allowing the group's beliefs and judgments to substitute for one's own. This surrender brings a kind of relief from the anxiety of individual responsibility. But it comes at an enormous cost: the loss of genuine selfhood, the atrophy of conscience, and the terrifying capacity to participate in collective evil without feeling personally responsible because the group has taken over. He had watched this happen. He had seen ordinary people become instruments of mass murder, not because they were uniquely evil but because they had ceded their individual judgment to a collective. The existential solution was not better ideology but personal responsibility, the insistence of each person on remaining answerable for their own choices, on maintaining the capacity to say no, on refusing to dissolve into the mass even when the mass is powerful and the individual is vulnerable. Frankl's defense of the individual is therefore not political in the narrow sense. It is existential, a defense of the very dimension of human existence that makes meaning, conscience, and genuine love possible. Subscribe to the Psychology of Viktor Frankl to explore more of his timeless ideas.